It is Wednesday. We are wizards, and we are putting our runes on the door. We explore the mystical impulse through art and tech, and the Runiverse grows exponentially. But let us pause in the middle and come together to observe the holiest of days, Wizard Wednesday. I, Elf, come to you through the quantum downs, but I do not come alone. I come as three, because one corrupts, two divides, but three is balance. Joining me today in this balance is
Dota!
And
there we go. That's what I'm talking about.
Let's go! Wizard fucking
Oh.
Wednesday!
Finally, you guys give an enthusiastic intro. I've been begging for this for about 60 plus Wizard Wednesdays. No, I've been looking for a way to work that phrase in. One corrupts, two divides, but three is balanced. Do you guys know where that's from?
Goodfellas?
No.
Well, clearly you have not been watching Rings of Power. It's pretty much the only good line that Galadriel has in the whole show. It's,
I even watched that show and I totally forgot.
yeah, no, it's great because she, they're talking about like the elves are going to make some Rings of Power, and they're like, how many should we make? And she just drops this banger. She says, one corrupts, two divides, but three is balance. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, oh my God, that perfectly describes me, Bear, and Dota at Magic Machine. Because like, if it was just one of us, it wouldn't work. If it was two of us, we'd be divided the whole time. But all three of us, we balance each other out so well. So we each need some Rings of Power, I think.
Right.
I love that. We have to have two crows forged.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, by the way, we're absolutely doing that.
Totally.
Two crows.
Yeah.
Pick up your phone.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, yeah. So today is a huge show, to be honest. I just have lots of random ass shit that I want to touch on. The big thing would being like just a recap of the Halloween event. We've got a lot of questions regarding that. I want to talk about tricks. I want to talk about treats. Just observations on what made it fun. If anyone in the audience wants to come up and give comments, things they liked, things they didn't like, please come up. But before we get into all that, I just want to go over a few updates. Big one being, and this is actually kind of connected to the Halloween, is you all saw that the walk cycles for the Warriors and the Souls are done. However, I say done. Really, I think just the Soul Collection is done. The Warrior walks, we need to just work out some of the little bugs and kinks in that collection. It's absolutely enormous. Dota, what'd you calculate? Like 5,000 frames are in that whole collection?
Oh man! Shout out to Cosmo. Yep. There were like I don't have the number in front of me. So I believe it was 5,196 frames just in the Warriors alone. It is just an enormous amount of work. And so yeah, Cosmo, huge shout out to you for being able to like get all that done in time. That was just really incredible.
Yes. Don't get me wrong. It was a Herculean undertaking. But there are still some things we need to work out in it. So we might delay totally releasing that cycle set. Sorry, Dota, did you want to say something?
I just said yes.
Yeah. So that's the update on the walk cycles. We can probably release Souls pretty soon, but Warriors might take just a little bit longer just to get it perfect. Regardless, though, I think it worked pretty well in the Halloween event, which we'll get into later. And then just a couple cult questions that I want to go over. So Warder was asking about the Runiverse land sale. Just any updates we can give on that? I don't know, Dota, do you want to say anything about that? Or Bear?
Well, on the Souls walk cycles, the they are already published in terms of the API.
Oh,
so
great.
I think we'll do more kind of as a team to package those up to make them a little bit easier to use. But I think that like the for now, if you want to use the API, they're there.
Sweet. Yeah. We should package it up a little more nicely and communicate how to get them better.
Yeah. And I want to give just a huge shout out on Halloween to the team. So, everyone here did just such a good job of putting that together. It was incredibly complex. The like part of the complexity there was just integrating with all of the different partner collections, right? Everything from punks to moonbirds, all these other collections, and making sure all of their weird formats loaded and connected properly. And my hat's off to the Magic Machine team. So not only the art by Cosmo and Elf, of course, and the marketing effort that was put out by Bear Snake and Nalgene and Loch Ness really brought everyone in, and then especially like the dev team did an incredible job. So like Niski actually wrote 95% of all of the contracts in the Solidity code there. So like let it be known throughout the Runiverse that Niski is like a Solidity wizard,
Wizard.
and yeah, incredibly talented. For deploying all of the contracts that we need for the Halloween event, we launched 13 contracts in 52 transactions, and Niski wrote the deployment script for that, and it worked the first time. I couldn't believe it. It was so intricate and like you can't change the smart contracts. Alongside with that, yeah, the one who rings, Nisha did incredible work in the like making the front end work and getting all the animations just right. And then Jitsi, of course, was just here the whole time, helping everyone along the way and helping with community. So, and all the new people that were coming in. So, yeah, just really, really incredibly thankful for our team. And it was a huge effort and a huge success.
I was going to wait to gush over our team when we pivot to the Halloween conversation, but I don't blame you because they did do awesome, and we cannot say enough about how good they did.
Sure.
Bear, do you want to gush about the team?
Yeah, always. I mean, I think we might have talked a little bit about this last week, but I mean, we're a startup, right? And if there's anyone in the audience that has been a part of a company that started with a very small group of people and then has grown over time, it's not easy to scale. Like I always say, like it's a lot easier to come up with an idea and do it with one or two or three people, but to like turn that into scaling into like an actual company where there's 10 plus people, it's just not easy. That's always been the hardest thing for me in my past endeavors. And so it's always just so refreshing to see how well everybody is, how good everybody is on their own, but then to see them come together like Voltron, this doesn't happen often. It's usually way messier and way uglier on the inside, and it just is working so well. And I think not only does it speak to everybody's sort of specific skill sets in their respective areas, but it also speaks a lot about like personality and sort of genuine love for what we're doing because everybody cares. It's hard to find people who care, and it's just like both sides of the coin. Everybody, it's just feels so lucky to be working with everyone.
For sure. Yeah, I'll say more, but I just want to get through some cult questions real quick. Updates on land sale. Bear or Dota, do you guys have any updates on that?
So we meet with the Bisonic team on a regular basis. I think that like the land sale is still kind of pending. Like we'll give you plenty of heads up when it's actually time to do it. We really haven't even established necessarily the order of operations between when the game launches and when the land sale launches, right? I mean, for us, we like the idea that you can play the game at least a little bit before we drop the land, and so you will have plenty of warning. It's not likely to be something that we just sort of like spring on you. The market is, the market does feel like it's warming or at least thawing a little bit. We'll see if it's a bear market rally or not. But I think just really like, I'll say this every time it comes up, which is something like, Well, it's just best for everyone for the sale to go very well, right? Like it's not just best for us. It's like it just feels like as much as everyone here wants to play the game and we like love the cult and the stories, I think that we'll have to have a certain like faction of kind of momentum players taking part in the land sale to kind of set the pace and set the floor price for the plots of land, which then kind of like incentivizes and like drives the whole economy. And so like if we were to launch right now and then like for whatever reason not sell out, it just is this massive headwind for the project, whether we like it or not, right? Though we can say the game is really fun all day, but like if it only sells half, then all of a sudden like crypto will just sort of ignore it. So we're basically just waiting for the weather to kind of warm up and we have plenty of runway. We're like developing all the time. We're working a lot on the battler system, or at least like talking through it. I mean, everything's getting worked on too, but like, yeah, we've played some demos and we have some thoughts, and our team is really closely engaged to make that super fun. And Bisonic's really talented, and yeah, it's beautiful and fun, and you just have to wait.
The best place to get updates on that game is just the Twitter account. It's at Runiverse
Well,
Game.
and Matto's here. Matto, I mean,
Oh, and Matto, yeah,
I don't know
Matto's a
why
good
I'm
one.
taking your question, really. So yeah.
Yeah, no problem. I wasn't up on stage for it, but yeah, I mean, you pretty much covered it. It's being like held off. I will say that we do have like plans that are in the works for like the roadmap, like internally for when we plan on doing more information about what we're going to be releasing. We do plan on having at least another kind of play session for holders to participate in, hopefully before the end of the year. I will try to give more updates on it as they go. They're just really trying to like fine tune like the battling system and stuff, so that way it feels like it's in a good state to kind of like show off. It's not going to be like a fully developed thing because it's still constantly in development, but just something that way like players can kind of get a feel for how that game loop works, and also be able to share like on Twitter and stuff for other people to garner up some of that some of that hype for the game that's coming soon. So there's definitely going to be more news before the end of the year about the land sale. But just keep an eye on our Twitter and Discord for more news.
Great.
Well said.
Let's see, and then there's lots of questions about trick or treats. We'll get to that in a minute. I'm seeing questions about updates on 3D. Yeah, so 3D is well into production. Just tons of progress being made every week. It's one of the things that I think our whole team at Magic Machine is super excited about. Waz has been digging around in the company Dropbox and just playing with all the 3D assets. He's probably going to release some just tests pretty soon, just things that he's been playing around with. I think we'll certainly have a lot more to say in the coming weeks or months. But yeah, I mean, all I can say right now is it's definitely coming along, and it's one of the things we are most excited about. I don't know if Bear, Dota, you want to say anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, and I'm not sure if we said this before, but I feel like we kind of operate like Pixar in that Pixar will make a movie and then they'll screen it internally to the whole studio, all the employees, and if like one of the acts isn't working, like let's say like the whole like third act of the movie isn't working the way everybody wants it to, they'll literally just stop. They'll push the release date and they'll just redo it. And so I think that's sort of our take on everything that we touch. And 3D is no different. We went down a really long road with an outside studio actually, and we like spent a fair amount of money like doing 3D. And at the end of it, it was like, you know what, it's not good enough. And I was like, we're just going to do it ourselves. And we're like, all right, let's go. And so it may take longer, but I just love that we don't care about sort of like all the details of like, okay, this is better for us from like a business perspective to like just push it out. Like it has to hit this quality bar. And so yeah, like these models, I'm shaking. I love them so much. The whole team Molly with all of the concept art and Frog Eater, it's just so top notch. You all are gonna love it.
Yeah, the design that we had before it was just like extremely painful to discard it, but like we just couldn't do it, and we wasted too much money on it. And but like it's still 100% the right choice because the models that we have now will last 100 years. And so I think that I'm very excited to drop it. I think another problem that we're maybe having is like, well, it's not a problem, but like now we're just thinking about how do we want to release them, right? Do we just like sort of drop screenshots in a T pose? And it's like, well, no, we spent all this like love and care in it. Like we need to release something that looks good. So yeah, they're in
The
progress.
only quote problem there is like choosing which idea out of like 10 awesome ideas to land on.
Yeah, it's not a problem. It's just like it just takes time and money to like do that. So
yeah, but we've got a lot of plans for 3D and excited to talk more about that as it progresses. Two little fun questions I saw. So Tanya asked, what costumes did we wear? I'll start. I wore none because I was working on Forgotten Runes all weekend. Dota, Bear?
yeah, same.
Ditto. Although
Matto, did you wear a
I
costume?
know, we were really boring.
No, I was actually sick all day on Halloween, and then the day after I'm still finishing up some of the Runiverse campfire lore contest that we did. So busy weekend for me too, and then sick on Halloween day, so didn't even get to leave the house.
I did go to the Dead Fellows event in downtown LA with Tanya and Jitsi and a bunch of people. Jitsi was not in costume, but Tanya had a fantastic one on. Birds of the Cosmos had a fantastic one on. It was, people were showing up, wizard style.
Yep. Yeah, I was just reminded. I actually wore my Flesh costume. That's what I wore.
Thanks.
Isn't that such a nice phrase, Flesh costume?
Yeah.
Okay, and then similarly, Slim asked, "What superpower would you choose if you could choose one?" Again, I will start. I'm not. I'm not going to choose the typical flying or invisibility. I'm going to choose immortality. Okay, Dota Bear, what would you choose?
Really?
Yep.
Oh,
I would.
Dota, what do you want?
I think I love the idea of flying, but I might trade it for like godlike charisma.
Dota, you already have that in spades.
Godlike charisma? That's a superpower?
Yeah.
All right.
Hilarious from the guy who refuses to show his face to anyone.
Oh, man.
Okay, Bear, what do you
Bear,
choose?
you're up. Yeah.
God, jeez. Flying's cool. Invisibility's really cool. I kind of want to be able to run as fast as the Flash.
Oh, okay.
Like so fast that like I can break into other dimensions. I can like go steal a pizza. No one ever even knows. Like, that sounds really cool.
And you'd burn those calories off really fast. So.
Yeah, I'd look really good. Really good.
That's great. I love that you don't want to use your powers to like save people from burning buildings. You just want to steal pizza.
I just want a pizza, man. Jeez.
Okay, right on. Okay, yeah, I think that's all. One final question before we get into Halloween. Papa Foster asked about wiki lore updates on the map. Yeah, so the next, honestly, like month or two, this is where I really want to shift my main focus, is just like filling out a lot of the lore in the wiki, and really just other places. I mean, I've also been trying to work it a little bit more into Wizard Wednesday. In fact, today I want to talk about the green hats. So yeah, it's just, yeah. Oh, and then plus I've been like working with the comic guy and Derek on the scripts. So yeah, lore is just going to be a major focus of mine in the next few months. So that's what I would say about that. I don't know if Bear, Dota, you want to say anything on that?
Nope.
Nay.
Okay, cool. Talk about Halloween. Man, what a great event. Twitter was fucking amazing for like 3 days, and not just in the cult, but like people outside of the cult showing off their tricks, showing off their treats. Yeah, I've got 1,000 things to say, but I don't know. I guess Barry, do you
No,
want to
no,
start with this?
please, no, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, great. Sure, yeah. So yeah, I mean, we can talk about like what the treats are for in a minute, but I just want to make some observations just on the whole event before that, which is, number one, I'm really happy that Bread Friend is really getting the attention that he deserves.
Mm-hmm.
When I drew that little guy, I was like, why the fuck am I putting this in the collection? And, I'll say one inspiration for me was probably the funniest nursery rhyme ever, which is the Gingerbread Man nursery rhyme. And just real
Sing
quick,
it. Sing it for us. Sing it.
well, it's not really a song, but I will recount the nursery rhyme. It's basically a story of this like little shithead gingerbread man who goes around just like provoking everyone and talking shit, and then in the end, he gets eaten, and like that's it. And
Mm.
and
Dark.
it's hilarious though, because he just like he just talks shit the whole time, and then in this like Deus ex machina ending, he gets eaten by a fox. So I think the bread friend is sort of like a cousin of the gingerbread man. Hopefully, he does not meet such an ending though.
Can
But then
we
what
can
else
we
is?
make a squishy bread friend? Like
I I
those
think that would be a question for yourself, Bear. Can you get someone to make it for us?
Yes, I'll answer my own question. Squishy
Okay.
bread friend. Yes.
Okay. Sweet. No, and then just real quick, another fun thing about that is like this is also a throwback to the original NFT collection Dota and I tried to do before we realized there's another Toast NFT collection out there. So that's fun. Uh, but anyway, so Bread Friend is out there. Another thing I'm loving is seeing everyone like be inspired by the dolls that are in the collection, and now I'm seeing everybody like doll themselves,
So fun.
which is such a fun meme going around the cult right now. Um, I also just like one thing we didn't anticipate is I love the screenshots that everybody is showing where they get their whole crew into the little game, and then they all face the camera and they take a photo of like the whole crew. um that is like such an important trope in RPGs, which is like building a party to quest. And I saw everyone just sort of naturally doing that and like sharing the group photos of their collections. And then there was also other like really fun forms of role playing, like the Color Master, who is I'm pretty sure he's like the Beast Master of the Gigas Chad. He did this really great screen grab of Gigas Chad trying to intimidate Bear Snake. Um, I saw a lot of other people taking photos of their wizards, like hanging out with the founder wizards. So it's just really fun role playing was happening.
Yeah, did anybody find the Dota wizard hidden in the Halloween scene? I didn't see even one screenshot of someone who found the Dota wizard, so that'll remain a mystery.
Yeah, I think you hid yourself too well, Dota.
I suppose I did.
Yeah, yeah, because I couldn't even find it. um, yeah, those are just a few. Well, yeah, those are a few just like social observations. Obviously, I loved seeing the partner collections post their tricks, but I'll stop there for a minute. Do you guys want to give
Uh,
anything?
well, yeah. I mean, I think that I really loved everyone uploading their tricks. Like the animated GIF was so fun. I don't know. Like I love it. I love it when on the days when you win Twitter and like your entire feed is just Forgotten Ruins. It's just like the best feeling.
Yep. Yep. And then Bear, I know you had like a big rant about just like collaborating with these other projects.
Yeah, I actually got into a public fight with that guy Shillin the villain about it, like inadvertently. Anyway, I'll save that story for another time. I think now, especially during like sort of the bearish sentiment, this idea of like being competitive with other projects, I think, is just like the antithesis of what should be happening. I think collaboration in like an emerging market like this, where there's builders and there's projects sort of heads down doing their own thing. I think to lift their heads up and to sort of join forces when they can with other projects and collaborate, whether that's like pointing communities to one another or doing a project together and building together. I just think that is like there's exponential growth in sort of holding hands. And I think Halloween was our first attempt at doing that in a lot of ways. And it was just really exciting to see some of these projects sort of max out their their tokens for those partner community projects. I mean, Delph, I know you talk about the network effect, but it speaks to that, right? The network effect, it just goes that much faster and that much further when you're working together. And I love to see it, and we're going to do more of it.
Yeah, and I don't have the exact numbers, but I think there was something like 500 new people who got like boxes or treats that don't hold any of our other like character tokens. And I mean, maybe that's sort of low in kind of Web 2 terms. So that's quite a lot, given that we only have maybe 4,000 holders. That's quite a big percentage increase. So it's really exciting to kind of just see new folks. To me, it just felt like everybody noticed us, right? Like now everyone in NFTs knows who we are. They're like, I'd go into channels where maybe people weren't as familiar with Forgotten Ruins, and now they are, and that's a good feeling.
And also shout out to the cult for giving such a warm welcome to people coming in. That's such a big part of it, right? Is a random person finds out about the project, they come in, they ask questions, and first impressions are a big deal, and y'all were sweethearts, so thank you.
Yep. Yeah. It's all about the network effect. And it's all about just building a fun experience. I mean, I think like really that's one of the most important features of any NFT project. Just build for fun. It's really that simple. Especially like this is your armor against the bear market. Entertainment historically has always done really well in down economies, and everybody's been having fun with art gobblers, like that's the latest thing. My observation is just like this is like serious bull market energy in a
Yeah.
bear market, and it's
Yeah.
it's happening in NFTs. It's not happening in DeFi. It's not happening in like anything else. Equity markets, like NFTs are the only place that like real fun is being had.
And I super loved what Bridge said, like just before he said one of the things I love like Forgotten Ruins is because they promise NFTs and deliver magic, and I was like,
that's
Yeah.
good. Yeah, that's really good. I like that.
yeah.
That's really good. So let's talk about the tricks and the treats. Let's start with treats actually. And so again, as we've been saying, the biggest quote unquote utility is just the lore implications behind these. And I'm already seeing it happen on Twitter. Here's a funny example. I saw somebody like asking like, how do I cook these eggs? And then somebody else replied, did you consult the Book of Eggs? Shit like that. Like I love that. I love the lore that's being built around the doll collection. I'm seeing people like play with the cards. There's a lot of speculation about the eggs. Just like there's just so much storytelling utility from all these items. And what I love also is that they're like the barrier to entry is very low for these. They're not expensive. They're easy to trade. And so it's not really like a quote financial token. It's more just like something fun to play with, and I love that. So yeah, I mean, like the lore is really the real utility. Now, as far as any mechanical utility, I want to be careful about saying anything specific right now. Because it happened with the Beast Gate like a few months ago. We said the Beast Gate is opening, and then everybody speculated on wizards holding keys. And like luckily that played out. We made it work. But like if I say anything now, it's not something that is definitely going to happen set in stone. These are just like ideas that are like been floating around Magic Machine. I would say that a lot of the mechanic utility is sort of apparent in what these things are. I mean, the eggs, like obviously, I think you all can imagine what the eggs would do. That's pretty self-explanatory. The books might be used. I mean, I don't know. It's sort of like the title of the book can sort of suggest what it might be used for. There's a lot of alchemy ingredients. You could imagine like a some sort of crafting scenario with those things. There's a fishing pole. You could imagine what that would be used for in the future. There's a lot of food items. You could imagine feeding those to ponies or beasts or as buff items in battle. These are just sort of ideas that could totally happen in the future. I don't know, Dodo, do you want to say anything about future utility?
Yeah, well, I think because everyone are such crazy degens, the second we like give a hint of alpha, they like spike on the marketplace. So like,
Yeah.
be warned, we don't have like super concrete plans or concrete timelines. That said, like us, we're like we don't like to put things out there and never use them, but there's so many different items within that collection. It's going to take time before we actually integrate them. But yes, I think like you said, the uses are somewhat apparent, and we'll try to use them as we kind of build things out, right? And so we talked about this last week, which is we've got characters in the Runiverse, we've got written stories through the Book of Lore, we've got commissioned still images, and now we've got these items. And so we've got all this sort of like boilerplate for a universe, and we have stories around the world, and we're telling
We've got a
stories from
map.
the comic book. We've got a map. We've got a map, but we don't really have anywhere where you can like walk around as your character. One of the things people talk about from the Halloween event is like, oh, I wish I could just go back in and just walk around. And that was like the world's simplest situation, right? Like you're just walking to the left and the right like a platformer where you couldn't even jump. But it was so fun to like be your wizard or your whole crew roll up to the Nightmare Imp store. It was like incredibly fun, even for me, to see your character in that environment. And so I think that's really the sort of things that we want to like work on this year, is less around like expanding the characters and more around expanding the world, but then like the interaction, like the interactivity. And so I would love to do more around like being able to have maps where you can walk around, and we'll do some of that in the Runiverse game, of course. But then being able to have a place to even use these items, and be able to have games where you can come and play and use these items. And so, well,
Yeah.
you'll just have to wait, I suppose.
People have been asking a lot about the vases. You can imagine maybe something's in that vase. The vases have titles that are specific to regions. You could imagine some sort of map related utility to that. Here's another mechanic. Actually, people were asking about the scroll mechanics. We've said that these scrolls can be exchanged for a wizard, warrior, or a pony. Dutter, do you have any comments on
Yeah,
how
I,
exactly that works?
I will set that up within the next week or so. I think if you got a wizard scroll, just DM me and we can deal with that by hand. Um, one of the things that I was planning on doing was pseudo swap allows you to exchange NFTs for a random NFT in a pool, and I was planning on just throwing them all in pseudo. But then I just realized this morning I was talking to Owen that like they don't support 1155s yet, and the items are 1155s, and so yeah, we've got to write a bit of code or at least just do it by hands. But yeah, just
Dude,
DM me.
I think an OTC trade is honestly the simplest
It's
way to go
probably the
here.
simplest thing. Yeah, so just
Yep.
give us a DM, I guess.
Yep. I think OTC would be the best.
Yep.
Cool. And then let's see. I think that's actually it on the treats for now. One other fun thing about the treats, and speaking of community, is GoblinTown.wtf bought a jar of goblin brains. That was not instigated by us whatsoever. And then they started just doing other random Forgotten Runes tweets. But amazingly, there's honestly like an undercurrent of quantum synchronicity here, because I don't know, we might have an announcement of an upcoming game that might be connected somehow. I don't know if Dota Bear, you want to say anything?
Yeah, I mean, leave it at that. We're meeting with them tomorrow. We'll see how it goes.
They're just there's quantum synchronicity.
Yeah.
But this
Quantum.
isn't.
That's all we
But
can
here,
say.
it's quantum. But this is what I will say. Like, I'm not sure people know how the 10KTF sort of quote unquote collab, or however you want to define it, came about. But it came about completely organically. And I think it was Locke who started like sparring back and forth with them, and it like led to us to the Secret Tower being in the middle of the map, and us being a part of their entire project, and we love them so much. Uh, and I think they were the first project to actually use all their allocated spots for Halloween. Um, but I think some of the best things come organically and aren't sort of reverse engineered. And so yeah, I think there's a lot of fun stuff maybe coming from over
Yeah,
there.
and just to be clear, we don't have like anything formal with them. We're not outing them. We're just saying we're
Yep.
working on stuff where we might involve them.
Yeah.
Well, okay, yeah, and just to be even more clear, yeah, or to reiterate, I'm just making a hilarious observation that they bought Goblin Brains and then they found Goblin Town on our map. Um, I want to also reiterate that Goblin Town was on the Runiverse map way before the Goblin Town WTF project was ever even born.
Well, that's what
So
I took a snapshot of the map, and I was just like, "Hey, we were here first," and and then they replied with a funny message over Twitter. So again, yeah, they're playful, and their community is just so weird and awesome. So
Yeah, I like seeing you goad them with like the kind of like the threat of like we love Goblin Brains too, and then they replied back, "Oh no."
Mhm.
and just to further iterate, I am also not claiming that Forgotten Ruins is the project who came up with the concept of Goblin Town. Obviously, that's been a meme in the crypto market forever. Um, which it's like this is what Forgotten Ruins is all about. It's playing on these timeless archetypes that are derivatives of derivatives of derivatives. Culture has been metic. So, anyway, I think what I'm saying right now will make sense in the future as we make more announcements of this unannounced game. I mean, yeah. In fact, someone in the cult was asking about this unannounced game. Dota, just to put a button on it. Is there anything else you want to
Yeah.
say about that?
Yeah, I'll talk about it. So we'll release more details. I'm working on the green paper right now. The game will be it's sort of like a massively multiplayer real time crypto version of like Settlers of Catan, I guess. And so this would be sort of like, one of the things with Settlers of Catan is that you take, so the way the game works, it's a hex grid game, and you can build settlements and roads, and you harvest resources, and you uh, in the tabletop game you take turns, right? People roll dice and there's turns and go around the table. In a crypto version it's all real time, so it's a lot more like, let's say, a master chef contract, or like yield farming, or like Goo, frankly, where you kind of like earn resources continuously over time. And so there's not like turns, it's actually everyone's playing at the same time. And so yeah, I will talk more about the details, the mechanics, the trade-offs, the benefits for beast holders, the PvP mechanic, and how warriors, wizards, and maybe even some of the treat items will play into the mechanics at a later date. But it's going to be quite fun.
I'm so
So there it
excited.
is. There it is.
There it is.
And the art, and let me just say, the art is looking quite spiffy as well.
Yeah, it's looking good.
Yep. Okay, and then let's talk about the tricks for a second. So this is this was one of my questions in the very beginning, which was like, what are people gonna like more, the tricks or the treats? I saw someone in the Secret Tower the other day say something like, again, the undesirables are desirable,
Mm.
which is perfect because that was our last Halloween event. And so, yeah, I mean, beyond just being like just really fun, funny things, Dota, do the tricks have any utility?
Yes. So the tricks do have utilities. Okay. So this would be kind of a follow up to our discussion around dynamic NFTs. Okay, so if you've been following along, one of the things that we talked a lot about a few months ago was like, should NFTs ever change, right? Like, Forgotten Runes was sort of founded on the like, let's say the principle of like this immutable living forever NFTs, right? We've stored the wizard's art on chain and they can never change and they'll persist for as long as Ethereum
Well,
exists, right?
sorry, I would actually say that's debatable, but still, continue.
Sure. And uh well, I'm just saying like it was founded in an era where there were many people who were
Yes,
collecting these NFTs
sure.
cared about immutability a lot, right? That
Yep,
like that was the mindset of many people at that time.
for sure. Yep, agreed.
Uh, and so there was like some ethos of that originally, but as we've kind of like grown as an industry and as a project, we sort of thought that like, well, these are digital objects and they shouldn't be static. I don't think that we'll ever like change the wizard NFTs. Well, we never will really do it without consent. And so, but the idea is that like we see people on Twitter, um, and and the Forgotten Roots community is like extremely creative, right? So let's take some other communities, like maybe like Moonbirds or something. Like people use their Moonbirds PFP and they don't really change it very much. People use their Azuki PFP and they don't change it very much. And so a lot of the websites, there are websites now that track like the number of PFPs people are using from a particular project, and we always rank really low on those stats. Why? Because we customize and like we bedazzle our like PFPs like way more than any other community. I mean, look at even other people in this space, right? Like Matazuki is like an interpretation. Tanya Del Rio, Chuck K, Jitsi is like looking in the looking in the window of like a door magnifying glass. All of these things. Dr. Slurp has his like glitched out. Cosmo's wearing a wizard hat on a toad. Oz has got a paper. Like I could go on and on and on, right? Tad Major's using a baby wizard. Two Crows is using his jewelry. So like the community like takes their PFP and then they like add their own design on top of it. And so one of the things we thought a lot about is like, is there a way that we can have those changes and then still show a hexagon on Twitter that's like verified by the Forgotten Runes deployer? And the tricks are, you'll notice, are actually part of what's called a shapeshift collection. And so the plan is for these shapeshift collections is that you'll actually be able to like apply like filters, equipment, like styles, maybe different props, maybe different interpretations. And you'll come to our website and you'll be able to use tokens essentially. Like maybe there's a piece of candy from the collection that you can use to change the background color of your character, or maybe
Maybe
there's a way.
the jar of rainbows changes colors. Maybe the hue hat. Maybe the spray can. Maybe some of these treats are actually used in shape shifting. I don't know.
Hmm. And you know, some of the things we've talked about even more are like hat colors, for example. Like the hat colors are actually right now all attached to specific Wizzy heads, and then even some heads don't have a hat at all, or they're different colors. And so, let's say that you wanted to change your hat color. Look, we're not going to change the rarity of the core wizard, right? Like
Yep.
whether a wizard has a purple hat or a green hat or whatever, that's always going to stay the same when you look at the core collection on OpenSea.
Yep.
But you could imagine getting a hat change token, which then you can use to change the hat of your shapeshifter. And so again, this shapeshifted collection is it's wizard bound. I don't want to say soul bound, but like basically you can't sell or trade the shapeshifter token apart from the owner. In fact, whoever owns the original wizard token automatically owns the shapeshifted token. And so you'll see right now that all of your shapeshifted tokens, if you have one, has a trick on it, right? And if you didn't get a trick, then you don't have a shapeshifted token for your character just yet. But what we'll basically be doing over the coming months, and it might take us a few months, bear with us, is basically building out an infrastructure where you could, why Sam paints a slice of pizza, or maybe actually we have a slice of pizza in the treats collection. Elf has a slice of pizza, and you can kind of like change out the prop in your character, or change the background and then crop it. And then use that as your hex PFP on Twitter as like a verified token from the Forgotten Runes deployer. So yeah, so the trick or treat was basically the proof of concept for the shapeshift system, which we hope to use more as a token driven, like my specification customization of your PFP.
Yeah, so this is the follow up to the really controversial dynamic NFT conversation we had months ago. The voices of opposition did not want us to change core NFTs because it would affect rarity metrics. Totally understandable. So this is our sort of solution to this, which is it still doesn't change the core NFT, but you can still customize your character sort of in a doppelganger-like NFT that I'm imagining would show up in the Book of Lore, maybe as the primary image, because this is the one you're presenting as. It's an actual NFT token. It's tied to the original NFT, but it's highly dynamic and customizable, and you will probably need tokens to make these changes. And many of these tokens are sitting in the treat collection right now. So yeah, this is just, I think, a great solution to dynamic NFTs.
Agree.
Matto, you got a question?
No, I was gonna say I actually was discussing this in the sales chat over the weekend. That's what I thought you were doing when I saw that it was that they were like essentially like not really soulbound, but they were connected. I think the first thing I noticed is that if you delegated a wallet, the tricks would actually spawn in the wallet that knocked, but because the wizards or warriors were not in that wallet, they would actually spawn in. They would actually mint in the holder's wallet. So that was the first thing that I noticed. And then I noticed obviously people were pointing out that, you can't sell them or trade them. And I did my own test to show that you can trade them only after you've traded the original wizard or warrior. And they can only exclusively go to whatever wallet, destination wallet the wizard or warrior was in. So with that, I kind of thought like, these are essentially kind of like a layer two on top of that original token. So like that's what's upgradable, but the original token underneath is perfect, is completely untouched. And I kind of thought like that the upgrade paths would be like related to what's on the original, similar to like souls, where it's like one trait could only really turn into like a series of other traits rather than just kind of anything under the blue. But I don't know what you guys are replying. That's just kind of like what I was thinking, and I'm just glad that it kind of felt like we were on the same page with it, because I think you guys dropped enough hints that you wanted to do that. That it was kind of apparent once I saw that we had that kind of that wizard warrior bound token that was created from this event.
Yeah. Well, yes, I think that you're right, which is that we want to kind of link it to the underlying token. And then I think for the near term, it will be basically allow listed from like we basically run because the tokens are changing. There will be a central server which is hosted by Magic Machine, which hosts those images. So, for example, rather than using IPFS, where every token, the whole collection basically is like one file, we have a dynamic API for these dynamic NFTs. And so we'll basically have quality control for which tokens we will sort of let into being able to be used there. And they can range from just like changing the pixels to even almost like filters, right? Like, so imagine that you like flip, like a lot of people flip their token from like left to the right or something, right? And so you're still doing a transform of kind of the underlying token, but we could use it for other things too, right? You could imagine using it for a totally different like anime style version of your wizard, or a 3D version, right? Imagine once we have 3D published, you could actually like pose your 3D version, and then like basically there's a little camera there to like take a picture and then set that as your snapshot version. So I think those are the things we're kind of like dreaming of in the future. You could even imagine cases where we've seen tokens, we've seen like Baron Court, where they're like a different familiar, right? I mean, we haven't like all decided this as a group that we would want to do this, but you could imagine in theory, what if you had that Baron Court familiar, and then you could sort of sub out like what your familiar is on kind of your warrior token, for example. So yeah, I just really think the sky's the limit there, and I'm like very, very excited to play with it. Though we still have, we still need some time to actually build out that UI.
Yep. Yeah. Between shape shifting and 3D and map building, I was just thinking today, like, we- we're about to like enter a phase in Forgotten Runes that's just going to be freaking just like one of my favorites yet, honestly. I know that like we're just getting started is a very cliche phrase in the space, but it's just so true right now for us. There's so many things on the horizon that I'm so excited for. Uh, and yeah, I mean, I don't know, Bear Dodo, do you want to comment on that?
I'm not excited at all. I'm super bored and I don't want to do this.
Yeah, I'm just like stressing over how much coding we have to do, but I'm like loving every minute of it. So
Yeah, yeah.
I just want pizza, like I said earlier.
maybe we need to order you a pizza to the bear cave.
Okay, well, speaking of hat colors, I want to talk a little bit about the green hats today. And then I want to go over some cult content.
Please, yeah.
Okay, cool. So yeah, last week we talked about the red hats. Or sorry, previously we talked about the red hats, who are capitalistic oligarchs using magic, or using the magic of finance to seize power. And then we talked about the blues, who believe power resides in knowledge, rationality, and technology. But today I want to dive into the greens, the green hats, whose power centers lie in the equatorial jungles on the map. Um, and so the primary culture of the greens is that they live in harmony with nature. They do not try to dominate nature. Their society blends in with it as much as possible. Um, I would imagine a lot of green hat cities being very much solar punk in design. If you're familiar with solar punk, um, they essentially just all of their power sources are from the sun. Um, and then their magic, of course, pulls from deep within the earth. And it's quite possible that these sources are far older than even the quantum shadow itself. Um, and so the Greens, they pity the Reds because what good are their evil financial markets and their cosmopolitan cities in the face of a powerful earthquake or a hurricane? What good are the Blues libraries in the face of an inferno? What technology can possibly be built that would counter the natural forces of an entire planet? Because in the end, nature is all that endures. The unstoppable forces of the natural world will always prevail. You could even argue that the singularity itself is a natural event. And nature was here before the singularity, and it is here after the singularity. Um, and so, to really understand the Greens, there's a lot of tropes of this type throughout literature and film and media. And with the Reds and the Blues, I started with like the good trope. Um, Normally, I start with the good guys, but with the Greens, I want to start with like the quote evil trope because that's what makes this trope interesting. Um, and it's interesting because in the natural world, good and evil kind of don't really exist. The natural world basically transcends these human notions of good and evil. Um, you can't really say nature is evil. What you can say is nature is harsh and brutal and just disconnected from the paltry concerns of humanity, but it's not evil. And so here, an example of this would be like Werner Herzog's film The Grizzly Man. Um, Spoiler alert, in the end, the guy gets eaten by the bear. But you can't say that that bear is evil. The bear is just doing what a bear does. Um,
Yep.
and yeah, yeah, bear. You, anything you do, bear, is never evil. You're just being a bear.
You heard it here, folks. Give me your children.
Yeah. But yeah, and then this concept is really explored in one of my favorite books, The Jungle Book. The central protagonist Mowgli. It's all about his sort of him confronting what's called the law of the jungle. which is sort of epitomized by Shere Khan. Shere Khan is just a tiger. He's not evil. He's just doing what a tiger does. Um, and what's really interesting about Mowgli's journey as he grapples with the law of the jungle is that he learns that since he's a human, this sort of puts him outside of the jurisdiction of this law, because for one thing, he can wield fire. And of course, fire is a metaphor for human civilization. And when civilization is built, it destroys the jungle and all the animals in it. Um, but yeah, it's so what's interesting is like when human beings, i.e. the greens, when they try to sort of observe the law of the jungle, and sort of live in harmony with it. A few other quote evil examples of this are like Jurassic Park. Clearly for all the humans involved, those dinosaurs were very bad. But again, they're dinosaurs. They're just doing their natural thing. Another really cool example of this is that movie Into the Wild. It's again sort of like another Mowgli tale. The guy in it, he tries to become one with nature, and in the end, nature destroys him. And so yeah, the bad, like the quote unquote evil examples of this trope are super super fascinating, because it really just in the end it makes you question like what is evil really. And then of course there's tons of like really virtuous good examples of this. Lord of the Rings, for example, has many versions. The Ents, Radagast the Brown, and to an extent, the elves themselves. These are all beings who are just really trying to live in harmony with nature, and uh, living in harmony with nature is like the highest good. Other examples are like the Ewoks from Star Wars, the Na'vi from James Cameron's Avatar, San from Princess Mononoke. So yeah, it's funny because like I think if me personally, if I were to be in any of the wizard factions, I would maybe find myself very with a lot of affinity for the greens. This is just my personality, but yeah, it's a pretty straightforward trope, and yet it's extremely powerful. And there's a lot of just like really fascinating inherent conflict within like the whole green philosophy. Um, that's really all I have to say about the greens today. I think next week I'm going to go into the yellows.
Love that.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I think I saw Bill Gaines the other day saying something about like there's nothing like weak or wrong about the greens, and like I can see an argument being made for that. It's just like the bad side is like often like green philosophy just really discounts what it means to be a human. But is that bad? I don't know. It's up for the debate. I mean, that's the way it is for all these hat colors. It's there's really no like way to perfectly define any of them, and that's why it's good storytelling material, because there's inherent conflict in all of them. Okay, so yeah, and then let's go over some cult content. I don't know, Bear Dodo, did anything stand out to you this week? I've got a little list.
One of the things that I thought was so cool was I'm sure you're going to talk about all these projects, but we were working so hard on our Halloween event, and the cult themselves had 3. So Acid
Yeah.
Eater and Bill Gaines had set up the costumes, which I incorrectly tweeted, sorry, as baby costumes, but it's actually for wizards as well. I particularly loved the Chimera costume. Ugh, just so adorable. Just kills me how cute it was. And then
Yes.
we
Go ahead.
also had the Forgotten Punk soul burning event, which is involved, right? And like we see this mechanic so often where it's like, you just think, oh yeah, you just mint a summoning circle and then burn that summoning circle to mint a forgotten soul. It's like, no, things are not straightforward to do. And I was really impressed with, I know that SPZ was behind the smart contracts there. And then, the whole Forgotten Punks team, I love my Forgotten Punks. I think they're like so great. I don't think that I'm the highest Forgotten Souls Soul Punk holder. I think Merlin is number 1. I was number 2 for a minute. I don't know if I still am. And then yeah, Feckless has the Heroes of Cucumberland platformer game, which is like a full-on video game with a real contest in order to give away. I don't know what they gave away, but there was like NFT prizes if you won the game. So I thought that game was like incredibly well done, super fun. The
I
bouncy
can
pumpkins.
speak to the contest a little bit if you'd like me to.
Okay. Yes. Oh, hey, you're here.
Go
Hi.
for it.
Yeah. Hello, all. Yeah, so Shuck's Pumpkin Panic, the first game from Heroes of Cumberland, is now available to play. We launched it last weekend. There are 2 contests currently running. One is for first clears of the game, because it's a fairly difficult game, apparently. There have been 2 clears so far. The first one by Doodler and the second by Night Owl Birdman, which was just this morning. So congratulations to the 2 of you. The prizes for the first clear bit will be free Heroes of Cumberland. And then the second one is just a high score contest that will be running until next Wizard Wednesday. The current score to beat is, I believe, 7,750, held by Delta Mouse in the 10th place position, and Doodler again is in the top spot with somewhere around 22,000 points. But other than that, go to cucumdog.com. There's a games tab. You can go play it and enjoy.
Who is the team behind the programming and the art of this game?
Me.
You did the art and the programming?
Yes, I did.
What did you use to build the programming? Let's nerd out for a second. What is it built on?
It's built on Godot, which I was recommended by Wazir, and it's a fantastic program.
Ooh.
Yeah.
He also
Amazing.
Fred was also dressed up as a wizard for Halloween.
Yeah, it was great to see Bear and Jitsu. That was awesome.
You even had time to go to a Halloween party. That is incredible. Incredible work.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah, Dota, he codes and he hangs out. I'm just saying.
I try to do both.
Yeah, I just stay at home.
Yep. Awesome, Feckless. Yeah, the cult has just been making amazing stuff lately. I want to give a shout out to Cosmic Birds, who did a really nice Kirigami dice of the D20 die that sort of governs the randomness of the Runiverse. And in fact, that was a contest that Matto, you won it, right?
Yes, I'm actually pretty surprised and pretty happy that I won it. I will definitely take more close-up pictures when it arrives.
Amazing. Yeah, it's super cool. And then Baron von Fancy sent me a really just beautiful ceramic sculpture of my wizard. Yep, there it is. I thought it was Sammy Kitty at first, but it was Baron von Fancy. Damn it, I love it so much. Like it was one of these days I'm going to retire and just like make ceramics because it just looks so fun. So thank you for that, Baron. And then Marco Fine has been just continuing making some really great illustrations of people's wizards. They did a really nice soul piece lately. I love Marco Fine's work. Just such good stuff. And then, yeah, I just want to second Dota. Acid Eater's costumes for all the wizards have been really great. I think that's all I'm seeing on the timeline. I always hate that if I miss anyone's cult content, but that's all I'm seeing for now. I guess that's it. Do we have anything else?
Oh,
I guess that's
Punks. Did we talk about Forgotten Punks and what's going on with that?
Yeah.
He just went over it, Bear. Were you not listening?
Oh my God! Sorry. Yeah.
Were you eating pizza? Were you getting a pizza?
Yes, the pizza just came.
Were you eating children, Bear?
Yeah.
It's not wrong.
He's not evil.
You're just a bear. You can't blame him.
Wah, wah, wah.
Well then, I guess that's the end of Wizard Wednesday. Listen, guys, we haven't done a lore reading in a while, so if you guys want to read your lore, then just like DM us. I want to hear more cult content from the Book of Lore. But that is it for today. Channeling out from the Quantum Downs. This has been Elf, Matasuki, Dota, Bearsteak, Feckless. and the entire cult of Forgotten Runes. GN, everybody.
Bye.